The world is addicted to noise. Look around you. The crowd is screaming for attention. They are broadcasting their intentions, shouting their dreams from the rooftops, announcing plans that have not yet taken a single breath of reality. They mistake volume for power. They mistake motion for progress. They believe that if they talk about success enough, if they post about the grand enough, the universe will somehow be obligated to deliver it. But the universe does not listen to the noise of the crowd. It never has. There is a different frequency, a hum so low, so steady, and so terrifyingly consistent that only a few ever tune into it. This is the frequency of the elite. This is the realm of the builders of empires, the captains of industry, the men and women who shape history while the rest of the world is busy commenting on it. They possess a secret. It is not a secret kept in a vault or written in a lost language. It is a secret hidden in plain sight, obscured only by its simplicity and its terrifying demand for discipline. I call it the silent formula. It is the specific psychological architecture that the wealthy practice religiously, yet rarely admit to. When you ask them how they did it, they might give you the surface answers. They will talk about hard work. They will talk about timing. They will talk about luck. They smile and hand you these platitudes because the truth, the raw, unvarnished machinery of their mind, is often too intense for the average person to comprehend. The truth is that they did not get lucky. They did not stumble into fortune. They engineered it. They engineered it in the silence, long before the world saw the result. To understand this, you must first accept a brutal reality. You are exactly where you are today because of the silent agreements you have made with yourself. Most people are the architects of their own prisons. They silently agree to be average. They silently agree that the economy dictates their worth. They silently agree that their past failures are prophecies of their future. But the master, the one who rises from the ash heap of zero to the summit of fortune, makes a different agreement, and he makes it in the dark. This begins with the law of the silent decree. Napoleon Hill observed it in Carnegie. He saw it in Ford. He witnessed it in Edison. None of these men began with the applause of the crowd. They began with a silence so profound it looked like madness to the outside world. The silent decree is not a wish. It is not a hope. It is a contract signed in the blood of your ambition between your conscious mind and the infinite intelligence that governs the universe. It starts when you stop talking and start deciding. You must withdraw from the noise. You must find that chamber in your mind where the opinions of others cannot reach. In that space, you do not ask for success, you command it. You define it with a precision that scares you. The average man says, "I want to be rich." That is not a decree, that is a complaint. It is a vague, shapeless fog that dissipates the moment hardship arrives. The master says, "I will generate $10 million by the 1st of January, 5 years from today, and in return for this wealth, I will provide the most efficient service the steel industry has ever seen." Do you hear the difference? One is a wish, the other is a geometric coordinate in time and space. The silent formula demands that you treat your desire not as a fantasy, but as a memory of a future that has already happened. This is where the rich separate from the poor. The poor wait to see it before they believe it. The rich believe it in the silence of their own soul, until the world has no choice but to show it to them. This is the transmutation of thought into things. Consider Henry Ford. When he decided to cast the V8 engine block in a single piece, the world of engineering, the experts, the loud voices, told him it was a physical impossibility. "It cannot be done," they screamed. Ford did not scream back. He did not argue. He simply retreated into the silent formula. He told his engineers, "Produce it anyway." 6 months passed. Nothing. Another 6 months. Nothing. The engineers came to him, exhausted, defeated, claiming the laws of physics were against them. Ford remained in his silence. He did not waver. He did not drift. He simply said, "Go on. I want it, and I'll have it." He wasn't operating on logic. He was operating on a decree he had engraved into his subconscious. He saw that engine when no one else could. He held the image in the silence of his mind with such ferocious intensity that the resistance of the physical world eventually shattered. And the secret was revealed. The impossible became the inevitable. This is what you must do. But you must understand that this decree is fragile in the beginning. That is why it must remain silent. If you take your newborn ambition, this fragile seed of a destiny, and you expose it to the skepticism of your friends, the doubts of your family, the ridicule of the crowd, they will kill it. They will stomp on it with their realism. They will suffocate it with their prudence. The rich know this. That is why they move in silence. They build the foundation underground. They dig deep into the bedrock of belief before they ever lay a brick above the surface. You must learn to carry your purpose like a loaded weapon, hidden but ready. You must walk through your day knowing something the rest of the world does not know. You must look at your current circumstances, your bank account, your job, your struggles, and smile internally, because you know they are temporary. You know they are already dead. They just haven't fallen over yet. Because you have already created a new reality in the workshop of your mind. But a decree is only the beginning. The silent formula requires a fuel to burn, or the engine will never turn over. This brings us to the second phase of the formula, something the ancients knew, and the modern billionaires practice instinctively. It is the transmutation of the obsessive fire. You have heard it said that knowledge is power. This is a lie. Knowledge is potential. Knowledge is inert. You can have a library full of books on success and still starve to death. Power is energy. Power is emotion directed by will. The rich do not just think about their goals. They feel them with a terrifying resonance. Think of the most intense emotions you are capable of: love, anger, fear, sexual desire. These are not just biological reactions, they are raw, nuclear energy. The drifter, the one who fails, wastes this energy. He splashes it around in moments of temper. He dissipates it in cheap entertainment. He exhausts it in meaningless pursuit of pleasure. He takes the high, octane fuel of his soul and pours it into the dirt. The master practices the art of containment. When he feels anger at his poverty, he does not go to the bar to drown it. He captures that anger. He bottles it. He forces it into the boiler of his ambition. He says, "I will use this heat to forge a plan so solid that I will never be poor again." When he feels the intense drive of desire, he does not waste it in dissipation. He redirects that creative force into his work, into his vision, into his legacy. This is the secret of the extra mile. It is not just doing more work. It is doing work infused with a different quality of energy. It is work that glows. When you meet a man who is operating on this level, you feel it. Napoleon Hill called it a magnetic personality. It is the vibration of a mind that is burning at a higher temperature. You must become an alchemist of your own emotions. Stop trying to be calm all the time. Calmness does not build empires. Controlled obsession builds empires. Directed passion builds empires. You need the fire, but you must be the engineer of the furnace, not the log consumed by the flame. Look at the story of Abraham Lincoln. Here was a man acquainted with the deepest valleys of sorrow. He lost the woman he loved. He failed in business. He was defeated in politics time and time again. The sadness he carried could have paralyzed an ordinary man. It could have driven him to surrender. But Lincoln, consciously or unconsciously, accessed the silent formula. He took that profound depth of emotion, that crushing weight of sorrow, and he transmuted it. He turned it into a compassion so deep a resolve so stiff, and a wisdom so profound that it could carry the weight of a fractured nation. He did not get rid of the pain, he used it. What is your pain today? What is gnawing at your gut? Is it the humiliation of being broke? Is it the frustration of being ignored? Is it the anger of seeing those with less talent than you succeed because they have more courage? Good. Do not run from that feeling. Do not medicate it. That feeling is your fuel. That feeling is the raw material of your fortune. Take that energy, go into the silence, and weld it to your plan. Write your goal down, and as you write it, pour that rage, that love, that hunger into the ink. Make the words vibrate. Tell yourself, be this energy, I will rise. This leads us to the mechanism that makes the silent formula work. It is the bridge between the silent decree and the physical reality. It is the concept most people nod at, but never truly practice, the law of auto-suggestion. You are hypnotizing yourself every hour of every day. When you look in the mirror and sigh, seeing only age or exhaustion, you are casting a spell. When you look at a bill you cannot pay and say, I never have enough money, you are giving a command to your subconscious mind. And your subconscious is a faithful servant. It has no sense of humor. It has no judgment. It simply obeys. It says, yes, you never have enough money. I will ensure this pattern continues. The rich understand that the subconscious is the gateway to infinite intelligence. They know that if they want to change the printout of their life, they must change the code. And the code is written in the silence of repetition. You must become a fanatic of your own internal propaganda. The world is constantly trying to program you. The news sells you fear. The advertisements sell you inadequacy. Your peers sell you limitation. If you do not actively program your own mind, the world will do it for you. And the world does not have your greatness at heart. You must build a wall of silence around your mind, and inside that wall, you must broadcast your own station. This is not about standing in front of a mirror and saying, I am happy, when you are miserable. That is a lie, and your mind knows it. This is about emotional command. It is about closing your eyes and visualizing your definite chief aim not as a picture on a screen, but as a reality you are stepping into. You must smell the leather of the chairs in your new office. You must feel the texture of the hand of the partner you are signing the deal with. You must hear the specific sound of the applause or the silence of your own peace. You must engage every sense until your brain cannot distinguish between the visualization and the reality. Science tells us the brain builds new neural pathways based on what it perceives. If you perceive victory in the silence of your meditation, your brain begins to rewire itself to spot the opportunities that lead to victory. This is why the rich get richer, not just because of compound interest in the bank, but because of compound interest in the subconscious. They have convinced themselves they are winners, so they see winning moves where the poor see only risk. You cannot simply try. This technique, trying, implies the possibility of failure. You must continuously bombard your mind with the reality of your success until the chemical composition of your thought changes. This brings us to the most mystical and yet most practical element of the silent formula, the induction of faith. Do not mistake faith for mere religious sentiment. In the context of building a fortune, faith is a state of mind. It is the only known antidote to failure. It is the eternal elixir which gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought. When the rich speak of believing in themselves, they are not talking about a warm, fuzzy feeling of confidence. They are talking about a hardened, unshakable knowing, a certainty that is as real to them as gravity. Faith is the art of seeing the invisible to achieve the impossible. But here is the secret: the elite guard faith is not an accident of birth. It is a skill. It is a muscle that is built through the very auto-suggestion we just discussed. You can deceive your subconscious mind into courage. You can repeat a lie to yourself so often that you eventually accept it as truth, and then, by the strange alchemy of the mind, that flea becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Consider the story of Edwin C. Barnes. He was not a wealthy man. He was not famous. He was, by all appearances, a tramp when he hopped off a freight train in Orange, New Jersey. He looked like a beggar, but his thoughts were those of a king. He walked into the laboratory of Thomas Edison, the greatest inventor on earth, and he did not ask for a job. He announced that he was there to go into business with Edison. The assistants laughed. The secretaries sneered. Barnes had no money. He had no education. He had no influence. But he had the silent formula working within him. He had engraved the decree so deep that he could not see the poverty of his clothes. He could only see the reality of his partnership. Edison himself later said, "I stood there looking at him. He looked like an ordinary tramp, but there was something in the expression of his face which conveyed the impression that he was determined to get what he had come after." Barnes did not get the partnership that day. He got a job sweeping floors. But, and listen closely, for this is where the path forks for you, he did not see himself as a janitor. He saw himself as a partner who was temporarily sweeping floors to learn the business. He maintained that vision for 5 years. 5 years of silence. 5 years of invisible labor. He did not complain. He did not quit. He kept the fire burning. And when the opportunity finally came, disguised, as it often is, as a failure that no one else wanted, Barnes was ready. He became the only man to ever become a partner with Edison, distributing the Ediphone, and he made himself a multi-millionaire. He succeeded because he knew the law. Reaches begin with a state of mind, with definiteness of purpose, with little or no hard work. You have been lied to. You have been told that hard work alone is the key. If hard work alone were the secret, every construction worker and every waitress would be a billionaire. It is not just the work, it is the faith behind the work. It is the absolute refusal to accept any reality other than the one you have decreed. This requires a terrifying level of commitment. It requires you to burn your bridges. The ancient commanders knew this. When they landed their armies on enemy shores, they would often order the ships to be burned. As the wooden hulls turned to ash and sank into the ocean, the soldiers realized a chilling truth. There is no retreat. There is no going back to the old life. We either conquer this land or we die here. Most people today have too many safety nets. They have a plan B and a plan C and a plan D. They say, I will try this business, and if it doesn't work, I can always go back to my old job. And because they can go back, they do go back. The subconscious mind senses the safety net. It knows you are not truly serious. It knows you are just trying. And so it reserves its greatest power. It holds back the genius, the intuition, the sixth sense that only activates in moments of absolute desperation. If you want to walk the path of the masters, you must cut off all sources of retreat. You must stand amidst the ashes of your old excuses and tell the universe, I am moving forward, or I am ending here. There is no reverse gear. When you back yourself into a corner like that, you will find a strength you did not know you possessed. You will find that the world has a habit of making room for the man whose words and actions show that he knows exactly where he is going. But you cannot go there alone. This brings us to the next phase of the silent formula, the one that amplifies your power 1,000, Full D, the master mind. There is a pervasive myth of the self-made man. It is a romantic idea, but it is false. No man achieves great fortune alone. Behind every Carnegie, every Rockefeller, every Jobs, and every Musk, there is a hidden network, a silent alliance. The mastermind principle is simple but profound. When two or more minds coordinate in a spirit of perfect harmony toward a definite objective, They create a third, invisible, intangible force, which may be likened to a third mind. Think of a battery. A single battery has a limited amount of energy, but link a dozen batteries together and you can power a city. Your brain is a battery. When you connect it with other high-frequency minds that vibrate with belief, with courage, with vision, your capacity to think, to create, and to attract wealth expands exponentially. But here is the warning. The rich are ruthless about who they allow into their mastermind. They do not invite the skeptics. They do not invite the complainers. They do not invite the drifters who are content with mediocrity. They know that poverty is contagious. They know that doubt is an infection. If you surround yourself with people who talk about how hard the economy is, who gossip about others, who waste their weekends in escapism, you are drinking poison. You are lowering your vibration to match theirs. You must audit your circle with the cold detachment of a surgeon. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? Do they fuel your fire, or do they piss on it? Do they challenge your decree, or do they validate your excuses? You must seek out allies who are also operating on the silent formula. This does not mean they must already be rich. It means they must be rich in spirit. They must be possessed by a desire as strong as yours. When you find these people, and you may only find 1 or 2 in a lifetime, you must form a pact of absolute honesty, a pact of total support. When you meet, you do not talk about the weather. You talk about the plan. You challenge each other's fears. You loan each other your faith when one of you is low. Andrew Carnegie, the man who commissioned Napoleon Hill to study the philosophy of success, wanted this on his tombstone. Here lies a man who knew how to enlist the service of better men than himself. Carnegie knew nothing about the technical making of steel. He didn't need to. He knew how to harness the minds of men who did. He built a mastermind group of 50 men, and through that psychological alliance, he manufactured more wealth than the world had ever seen. You need to stop trying to be the smartest person in the room. If you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. You need to be in a room where the voltage is so high it makes you uncomfortable. That discomfort is growth. That discomfort is your old self dying and your new self being born. Now, you have the decree, you have the fire, you have the faith, you have the alliance. But all of this energy must be channeled into a vehicle. It cannot remain in the ether. It must touch the ground. This is the law of organized planning. The rich do not just work hard. They work with a terrifying specificity. They do not wake up and ask, "What should I do today?" The day has already been finished before it started. The plan was forged in the silence of the night before. Most people mistake motion for action. They are busy. They are frantic. They are running on a hamster wheel of urgency, answering emails, scrolling feeds, reacting to everyone else's demands. They are sweating, but they are not moving. The master operates differently. He is like a sniper. He waits. He plans. He aligns his sights. And he takes one shot that counts for 1,000 rounds of the amateur. This requires you to sit down with your mastermind, or in the solitude of your own counsel, and crystallize your desire into a practical plan. But listen to me, do not wait for the perfect plan. The perfect plan is a myth invented by fear to keep you frozen. You will never have all the green lights. You will never have all the data. You will never have a guarantee. The silent formula demands that you start where you are, with what you have, and the better plan will reveal itself as you move. General George S. Patton said, "A good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. Speed is a weapon. Momentum is a force field. When you take action, decisive, imperfect, bold action, you send a shockwave through the universe. You signal that you are not just a dreamer, you are a creator. And when you act, You will inevitably meet the guardian at the gate, the guardian that stops 99% of humanity cold in their tracks. Its name is temporary defeat. The way you interpret defeat will determine your destiny. The average person sees defeat as a stop sign. They try a business, it fails, and they say, well, I guess I'm not meant for this. They personalize it. They internalize it. They let the defeat define their identity. The rich see defeat differently. They see it as data. They see it as tuition. Napoleon Hill taught that every adversity, every failure, every hardtack carries with it the seed of an equivalent or a greater benefit. Do you believe that? Do you truly believe that the worst thing that has happened to you contains the seed of the best thing? Think of the Great Depression. It broke millions of men. They jumped from windows. They starved in spirit. But in the midst of that same darkness, fortunes were made. New industries were born. Men like Colonel Sanders, who didn't start franchising KFC until he was in his 60s, broke and living off a tiny Social Security check. He drove across the country, sleeping in his car, getting rejected over 1,000 times. 1,000 times, the world told him no. 1,000 times, the world told him his chicken recipe was worthless. He could have quit at rejection number 10. He could have quit at number 500. He could have reasoned, quite logically, that the market had spoken. But he was deaf to the no. He had the silent formula. He knew his decree. He knew that the no was just a test of his persistence, and at rejection number 109, he got a yes. And that one yes built an empire. What if he had stopped at 108? You are stopping too soon. You are letting the illusion of failure trick you into abandoning your gold mine when you are just 3 feet from the vein. The universe has a habit of throwing one last great obstacle in your path just before your breakthrough. It is the persistence test. It wants to know if you are merely interested or if you are committed. It is easy to have faith when the sun is shining and the bank account is full. But can you hold your vision when the storm is raging? Can you stand amidst the wreckage of your plans, with critics laughing at you and creditors calling you, and still whisper in the silence of your heart, I am still the captain of my soul? That whisper is the voice of the only ally you will ever truly need. Napoleon Hill called it the other self. It is that dormant power within you that only wakes up when you have been pushed to the very edge of endurance. When logic says, quit, when the body screams, stop, and when the bank account says, empty. Most people live and die without ever meeting their other self because they never push themselves hard enough to wake it up. They retreat at the first sign of discomfort. They protect themselves from the very struggle that is designed to liberate them. But you are building a different life. You are practicing the silent formula. And because of this, you must master the art of the immediate decision. If you were to analyze the 25 Zalazan men and women who failed in the last decade, and the few hundred who succeeded wildly, you would find a distinct psychological difference. It is not in their IQ. It is not in their education. It is in the speed of their resolve. The poor and the average take an eternity to reach a decision. They hem and haw. They ask their friends. They check the horoscope. They wait for perfect conditions. And if they finally, painfully make a decision, they change it the moment they face a slight breeze of opposition. They are leaves blowing in the wind, having no fixed position in the universe. The wealthy, the masters of the silent formula, operate in reverse. They reach decisions quickly, and they change them slowly, if ever. Why? Because they know what they want. When you know what you want with a white, hot definiteness, the decision is easy. The decision is simply the mechanism of claiming what is already yours. Indecision is not a personality trait. It is a habit of fear. It is the fear that you might be wrong. It is the fear that you might look foolish. But looking foolish is the price of admission to the Hall of Greatness. Look at the birth of the United States. It began with a decision. 6 men sat in a room in Philadelphia. They knew that by signing the Declaration of Independence, they were not just signing a paper, they were signing their own death warrants. If they failed, they would be hanged for treason. The air in that room was heavy with the threat of the gallows. But John Hancock grabbed the pen and wrote his name large enough for the King of England to read without spectacles. He decided. He committed. And in that split second of terrifying resolve, a nation was born. You are sitting in the Philadelphia of your own life right now. The tyranny you are fighting is not a king across the ocean. It is the tyranny of your own limitations, your own procrastination, your own smallness. You are holding the pen, but you are trembling. You are worried about the risks. You are worried about the what ifs. Sing the paper. Make the decision. Cut off the possibility of retreat. The moment you make a true, committed decision, you exercise the ghost of procrastination. You stop leaking energy. You become a focused beam of light. And that light reveals the next step, and the next, and the next. You do not need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You just need to decide that you are climbing. But as you climb, you will hear voices. Not just from within, but from without. This brings us to the deadliest enemy of the silent formula, the invisible assassin that has killed more dreams than lack of money ever could, the fear of criticism. This fear is insidious. It wears the mask of prudence. It speaks in the voice of your concerned relatives. It whispers, "What will the neighbors think? What will my colleagues say if I start a YouTube channel? Who am I to write a book? Who am I to build a company?" Listen to me closely. You must stop outsourcing yourself. Esteem to people who are just as lost as you are. Why do you care about the opinion of a man who has built nothing? Why do you value the judgment of a woman who has abandoned her own dreams? The crowd will always criticize the climber. It is their defense mechanism. If you succeed, it proves that their failure was a choice, and they cannot bear that truth. So they will try to pull you down. They will mock your little business. They will laugh at your big ideas. They will call you obsessed. Let them. Their criticism is not a stop sign, it is a validation. It means you have left the herd. It means you are doing something worthy of notice. The rich practice a selective deafness. They do not hear the noise of the peanut gallery. They only hear the applause of their future self. You must build an immunity to the good opinion of others. You must reach a point where their praise does not elevate you, and their scorn does not wound you, because you are operating on a completely different internal scoreboard. This is the freedom of the silent formula. When you no longer need the world's permission to be great, you become dangerous. You become a force of nature. You stop asking, "Can I?" And you start asking, "How will I?" However, there is a law of the universe that you cannot bypass, no matter how much you believe, no matter how fast you decide, and no matter how much you ignore the critics. It is the law that balances the equation. It is the law of compensation. There is a dangerous misunderstanding in the modern world of manifestation. People think they can visualize a check, sit on the couch, and wait for the mailman. This is a delusion. The silent formula is not magic, it is physics. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. For every value you wish to receive, you must render an equivalent service. Napoleon Hill called this the habit of going the extra mile. It sounds cliché, but the application of it is rare. Most people do exactly what they are paid to do, and not an ounce more. They clock in, they clock out, and they wonder why they are stuck in the same tax bracket for 20 years. They are violating the law. They are trying to get heat from the stove without putting in the wood. The master, the one who builds the fortune, renders more service and better service than he is paid for, and he does it cheerfully. He does not do this because he is a doormat. He does it because he understands that he is putting the universe in his debt. When you consistently over-deliver, when you solve problems you weren't asked to solve, when you bring an excellence to your work that shocks people, you are building a reservoir of equity. You are making yourself indispensable. You are creating a vacuum of value that the universe must fill with reward. It may not come from the person you served today. It may not come in the form of a paycheck tomorrow. But the law is immutable. The return will come multiplied from sources you cannot predict. Look at the giants of industry. Amazon didn't just sell books. They obsessed over delivering them faster than anyone thought possible. They went the extra mile on convenience. Disney didn't just build a carnival. He scrubbed the pavement clean every night and trained his staff to treat every child like royalty. He went the extra mile on experience. They gave more. So they got more. You must look at your daily work, whether you are an employee, a freelancer, or a CEO, and ask yourself, how can I render more value today than I did yesterday? How can I shock the world with the quality of my service? If you do this, you do not need to chase money. Money is a servant. It follows value. It sniffs out excellence. If you become excellent, if you become rare, if you become the person who always delivers the extra, wealth will track you down. It will find you in the dark. It will knock on your door. But to maintain this level of output, this level of resilience, and this level of belief, you need to understand the machinery you are working with. You need to understand that your brain is not just a storage device for facts. It is a broadcasting and receiving station. This is the final, esoteric key of the silent formula. Every thought you think is an electromagnetic vibration. You are constantly broadcasting a frequency into the ether. When you are in a state of fear, you broadcast a signal that repels opportunity and attracts disaster. You literally magnetize bad luck to yourself. You walk into a room and people feel your desperation. They feel your doubt. They recoil from you without knowing why. But when you operate from the silent formula, when your mind is vibrating with the certainty of your decree, the fire of your purpose, and the faith of your possession, you broadcast a signal of power. This is the charisma of the great leaders. It is not just body language, it is energy. People want to be around certainty. Investors want to put money into certainty. Partners want to join forces with certainty. When you vibrate at that level, you begin to pick up signals from other high-frequency minds. You get hunches. You get inspirations. You find yourself in the right place at the right time. Some call it luck. The master knows it is tuning. You have tuned your mental radio to the frequency of success, so you are finally hearing the music that has been playing all along. You are receiving ideas that were invisible to you when you were stuck on the frequency of fear. This is why you must guard your mind like a fortress. You cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought. You cannot afford to dwell on revenge or jealousy or petty grievances. Every moment you spend in those lower vibrations, you are taking your hand off the dial of your destiny. You are turning off the broadcast of your future. You must become the guardian of the station. Stand at the door of your mind. When a thought of failure approaches, you challenge it. Help! Who goes there? If it is not in alignment with your silent decree, you do not let it in. You kill it at the threshold. You replace it instantly with the vision of your victory. This is a war. It is a war fought in the inches between your ears, and it rages every single day. There is no ceasefire. There is only vigilance. And as you win these daily battles, as you stack one silent victory on top of another, something miraculous begins to happen. The struggle begins to fade. The resistance of the world begins to soften. The heavy doors that were once locked against you begin to swing open on well-oiled hinges. You enter the flow state of destiny. This is where the hard work becomes effortless. This is where the rhythm of your actions aligns with the rhythm of the universe. This is where the rich live. They make it look easy because they have stopped fighting the current. They have become the current. They have moved from forcing to power. Force is physical, power is mental. Force is exhausting, power is replenishing. You are moving toward power. But remember, this power is not given to the idler. It is not given to the wisher. It is given to the one who has endured the silence. It is given to the one who has walked through the valley of the shadow of doubt and refused to set up camp there. You are almost there. The summit is visible, but the final ascent is the steepest. It requires one last transformation. It requires you to take all these laws, the decree, the faith, the decision, the alliance, the service, and fuse them into a singular, unbreakable character. Because ultimately, you do not get what you want, you get what you are. If you are small inside, small in character, small in discipline, and small in courage, a great fortune will not bless you, it will crush you. Look at the lottery winners who destroy their lives in 3 years. Look at the athletes who earn millions and retire bankrupt. Why does this happen? It is not a mystery. It is gravity. They tried to build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand. They had the money, but they did not have the consciousness to keep it. The silent formula is, at its core, a process of expansion. You are stretching your soul to hold the weight of the destiny you are asking for. You must become a person of such undeniable quality that the world has no choice but to pay you. This goes beyond skill. It goes into the realm of integrity. It goes into the realm of reliability. Can you be trusted with a little? If you cannot be trusted to show up on time, to keep your word when it is inconvenient, to finish the job when you are tired, why would the universe trust you with an empire? The rich are often portrayed as greedy or corrupt in the cartoons of the envious. But the self-made masters, the ones who build and sustain, are often the most disciplined people on the planet. They have mastered the mundane so they can command the magnificent. They do not cheat the alarm clock. They do not cheat their health. They do not cheat their partners. They understand that how you do one thing is how you do everything. A leak in one part of the ship will eventually sink the whole vessel. So, you must audit your character. Where are you weak? Where are you lazy? Where are you dishonest with yourself? You must find these cracks, and you must fill them with the mortar of discipline. You must temper your will like steel. Steel is not made strong by asking it nicely. It is made strong by heating it in the fire and beating it with a hammer, over and over again, until the impurities are pounded out. Your struggles, your setbacks, the long nights of doubt, these are the hammer. Do not despise the hammer. The hammer is forging you. It is pounding out the weakness. It is pounding out the fear. It is pounding out the drifter in you, so that the king may emerge. And as you harden your resolve, you must simultaneously soften your heart to the practice of gratitude. This is the paradox of power. You must be hard on yourself, but grateful for your life. Gratitude is not just a polite thank you to the cosmos. It is a frequency signal. When you are grateful for what you have, even if it is just a small room and a loaf of bread, you are telling the infinite intelligence, I appreciate this abundance. And because you appreciate it, you are open to receiving more. The complainer is closed. His fist is clenched in anger at what he lacks, and you cannot place a diamond in a clenched fist. The master walks with open hands. He says, thank you for this challenge, for it teaches me. Thank you for this small success, for it encourages me. Thank you for this failure, for it redirects me. He transmutes everything into a gift. And because he is grateful, he is magnetic. Resources flow to him because he is a good steward of energy. Now, look at the horizon. The world is changing faster than ever before. Industries are dying. New ones are being born. The rules of the game are shifting beneath our feet. The rigid man, the man who refuses to learn, who refuses to adapt, will be snapped like a dry twig in a storm. The silent formula demands adaptability. Napoleon Hill spoke of the habits of the mind. If your habit is to cling to the past, you are already obsolete. The rich are eternal students. They are voracious learners. They do not say, "I know that already." They ask, "What is new? How can I use this? Where is the opportunity hiding now?" They are fluid. They are like water. When a rock falls in the path of the stream, the water does not argue with the rock. It flows around it. It flows over it. It erodes it. It eventually wins, not by force, but by persistence and fluidity. You must be willing to burn your old identity to save your future. You must be willing to admit you were wrong. You must be willing to start over at the bottom of a new mountain if that is where the path leads. The goal remains the decree. The destination is fixed, but the path must be flexible. Do not fall in love with your methods, fall in love with your mission. And now, we arrive at the threshold of the ultimate realization. You have the tools. You understand the decree. You feel the fire. You have built the faith. You have formed the alliance. You have planned the work. You have silenced the fear. You have tempered the character. There is nothing left but the doing. The time for talking is over. The time for reading scripts like this, nodding your head, and feeling a temporary rush of dopamine is over. Inspiration without execution is a narcotic. It makes you feel like you are moving when you are sitting still. It is a dangerous addiction. You must take this formula into the dark, the silent. Formula works only when you disconnect from the need for validation and connect to the need for creation. You must disappear for a while. You must go into the wilderness of your own work. Let them wonder where you went. Let them think you fell off. Let them speculate. While they are loud, you will be building. While they are sleeping, you will be climbing. While they are drifting, you will be driving. There will be nights when you want to quit. There will be mornings when the bed feels too warm and the world feels too cold. In those moments, you will not rely on motivation. Motivation is a fickle friend who leaves when the party is over. You will rely on the covenant you have made with yourself. You will remember the decree. You will remember the burned boats. You will remember that you are not a body with a soul, but a soul with a body, commanded to manifest greatness in this dimension. You will remember that the only failure is the failure to persist. Imagine, for a moment, the version of you that exists 5 years from now. The one who obeyed the formula. Look at him. Look at her. See the calm in their eyes. See the strength in their posture. See the empire they have built. Not just the money, but the freedom, the impact, the legacy. That person is waiting for you. That person is screaming across the timeline, begging you not to hit the snooze button, begging you not to settle, begging you to hold the line. You owe it to that future self to be brave today. The gap between where you are and where they are is not luck. It is not talent. It is the accumulation of thousands of silent, unseen choices. It is the choice to read instead of watch, the choice to create instead of consume, the choice to believe instead of doubt, the choice to persist instead of quit. The world is noisy, my friend. It is chaotic. It is filled with the deafening roar of the average. But underneath that noise, there is a silence, a powerful, pregnant silence where destiny is born. The rich live there. The masters live there. The legends live there. The door is open. The price is your old life. The reward is your true self. Stop speaking. Start deciding. Engrave your decree upon the fabric of the universe, and do not stop. Do not rest. Do not yield until the silence speaks back to you in the language of victory. The formula is yours. The time is now. Go.